Hey guys, I'm Brian.
And I'm Terry.
Welcome back to another episode of our Forest to Farm series here on Survival Dispatch. Today we're picking up with where we left off, fixing these horrible footings.
Yeah, what a mess.
But today we continue on showing you how we install the batter boards. You know, keeping these things level is crucial.
Oh yeah, you don't want one string down low and one high. If you measure the diagonals, and this diagonal's a foot lower than it should be, and this one's 6-8 inches higher than it should be, when you measure, that diagonal's gonna get longer because now you've created a distance up and down, not just point to point.
Right.
So it gets longer.
Makes a big difference. You got to keep everything on the same plane when you're doing this, and that's where, you know, laser levels can be expensive. You can rent them, I think, but having one of these is crucial. That way you can walk around and beep everything and make sure it's all perfect before you get started.
We bought the one they have at Lowe's. It's a Bosch, and it was like $450.
Something like that. So
excellent. It does an excellent job.
We've used it all over here now that we've had it, and it really has paid off.
Yeah, and we're going to be doing a lot of work out here on the property that's going to need some surveying, basically, and that's going to do it for us. Really
a good investment. I mean, it's peace of mind knowing, okay, that's right. I don't have to guess. I don't have to try to use a bubble level and just all kinds of crazy stuff.
Call the surveyor out. You're going to pay $250 plus.
Easily.
Well, it was $250. It jumped to like $400 the next time.
Yeah.
Because things have gotten busy.
It pays for itself very quickly. Worthwhile investment. But basically in this video, we're going to take you through finishing up building these batter boards. Hope you guys enjoy this.
All right, guys. So we basically went around with the transit, and we made a mark at the same height all the way around here. So these are all the same level. We have set the transit up in the middle, as we showed you before. So now, those marks are just a rough mark. It doesn't have to be precisely on it. I put them on there, but I'm going to check and see if it's level. If it's not, we'll just kind of average it out. They don't have to be 100% perfect. We want this as close to level as possible. If you're off a 1/16 of an inch or something, it's not going to be a huge issue.
And we already got one screw started on here just to make it easier. And when you're doing this, you want to pull into the board so you're not pushing all your force into this and flexing the stake. So
take it home.
Counter yourself.
And bring that up just a little bit. Oh. Nail it.
Oop. Alrighty.
Hit the other side.
Hit this other one.
Good job there, little guy.
Thanks, big old guy. These are a little further apart because we have a drainage ditch here, so we had to spread them out. We didn't want to bust the dirt up on either side of the drainage ditch.
Yeah, now this drainage ditch is the one that drains water into our foundation because the guys who dug it out dug uphill.
Alrighty. All right, that's in there. Now we're going to get some braces set up.
Basically, that wobble, we want to try and eliminate some of that so that when we pull the strings, we're not flexing this, and then if it rains, it's going to get loose and start leaning, and we don't want all that, so we're going to brace them.
Okay, we've been showing you the layoff on my house because it's easier to show. Mom and Dad's has a big drop, and as you can see, we've got some pretty tall batter boards down here.
Oh yeah.
And this is the main reason we are bracing them off, and we're going to show you that now. Dad's got this board held solid. Here's the batter board, and this is about 5 feet, so rock and roll with it.
And you know, when you put studs in a house, you build a house, you put plywood on the outside, sheetrock, everything, it becomes rigid. It all works together to form a cohesive unit and make a good solid house.
Yeah.
2 studs sticking out of the ground, you can see.
There's a lot of wobble there.
And I'm not putting any effort into that.
So think about when you stretch a string between that and the other one, it's going to flex.
It's going to go boop, yeah.
And then let it rain a few times, and you got all that stress when you've got it pulled tight, and you're going to loosen the soil at the base, and it's eventually just going to keep working its way in.
Yeah, you want them strings to pull tight, and you don't want everything moving around.
Right. So we're going to brace it now and show you what difference it makes.
Oh yeah. We already got the stake in the ground. We already cut our brace. We're just showing you why we're doing it.
And we're only doing 1 brace per batter board, and what we're doing is roughly lining up with the center of the hole that the batter board is lined up to. That way, wherever we know we're close, we're within a few inches, so when we put the string on this board, it's going to be as close to that brace as possible. And it saves us lumber. There's no need to brace both sides.
Do a good job now, Brian. All right, so that makes it good and solid so we can pull our strings and not worry about these boards flexing all over, and it'd be a mess because every time they move, our strings would move around. It'd be a nightmare. So that ought to do the trick. okay guys, batter board's in. Some of them are braced if they're taller to keep that wiggle out. The shorter ones, we didn't need it. On the taller ones, we went ahead and drove our nail into the brace. We have it close to center of what the ditch is. Again, these ditches, footers were already dug. They're off a little bit. We're having to fix it. So we were able to estimate pretty close where the center is. Anyway, we've got the strings pulled, and we pulled them tight as a banjo string. We're pulling the ones across the 30-foot way. We've got 3 of them, one on this side of the garage, other side of his garage, and the far end of the house. That way, when we pull the 76-foot strings for the length of the house, 76 foot plus whatever the distance offset from the footer is, if they do sag a little bit while we're pulling it, they're laying on here. So anyway, we pulled mine and perfectly straight, working out good. So we'll show you how we pull this last one here. We've already got the rest in. There was no sense in showing you everything.
Okay guys, so what I'm doing, I'm gonna go ahead and tie a loop in the string. I'm taking one end down to the other end of the house, and I've got a nail driven here in this brace that I'm gonna come back to. That way, when I come back, I can tie it off and we're set and ready to go. But I'm gonna tie this loop, walk it down to the other end, drive a nail in where it needs to be, roughly lined up in the middle, and then I'll come back, pull it tight, and loop it over. So we'll show you that now. Okay, now that we're on this end, I'm gonna pull this string down, get it as tight as I can without being ridiculous, and I loop it around, and then I always come back, and that is the least I wanna have, but I'm gonna go back about 4 or 5 inches more and walk over here where it's loose, and I can tie a loop in this string. And now I've found that using another nail, I will run a nail through the loop that I just made, and I'll use that nail coupled between my fingers. I drop the string between my middle finger and my ring finger, and I will pull this string tight and use that to help me loop the string over, and now that's nice and tight.
If that slips, that could be a big owie.
Yeah, that could be a real big owie, but I'm used to doing this kind of stuff, so I'm not as worried. Next up, we leave foot and a half of string here in case we need to pop this back off of this nail and move it somewhere, but generally speaking, we'll just move the string wherever.
More for other people. They can tie a loop in it and just pull that loop instead of getting into that and risking getting hurt.
So we leave that, we'll tie it off, and then we can use that to pull it off there should we need to. Well guys, we hope you enjoyed this, just really straightforward and simple what needs to be done.
Definitely. And we're not going to show every bit of digging and whatnot.
Yeah, we didn't really film any of that because we're digging,
right? But we got our board set up, and we knew, okay, here's center of the footer.
Mm-hmm.
Now we need to be X number of inches from each side, and then we dropped that down using a level, and drove a stake, and we pulled a string down each side of that trough that we have for our footer that's dug out.
Yeah.
And they were like banana shaped, so we had to cut out this inside to get the wall straight. Wherever it did like this, we had to cut out. Well, it ended up being really wide because the inside went like that too. Nothing we could really do about that.
As long as we wanted at least 16-inch wide footings. Way overkill for our houses, but that's what we wanted.
Yeah.
We wanted a good solid bed, so
some of it's 24 because of the way they dug it.
Because of the way it was dug, and it rained. It probably rained 15 times on this footing over the time it took us to get it dried out where we could do all this work. And every time it rained, it washed the sides a little more.
Yeah. So getting back to what I was talking about with that string, we dropped basically dropped the 2 points we knew where we wanted the walls to be.
Yeah.
Down to the ground, drove a stake on each side, pulled a string on each side, and that string was just above the ground where that trough was, and we took a shovel and we just shaved the dirt off to that string. Now we've got a straight line. Now we can build a house on it, and it'll be straight.
It's just a lot of back-breaking work.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's worth it. Now we have square, solid footings, and concrete can get poured. And
we were worried about perfect precision holes. Digging in the dirt with an excavator is not going to happen, so don't think it's going to. He could have took one of those mini axes for less money than we paid them.
And should have.
and we'd have had straight foundations. They would not have been a problem. We wouldn't have done all this extra work by hand. So sometimes you just got to trust in yourself and go for it, you know.
Yeah, I didn't trust myself enough to do it, but as much time as I have behind the controls of one of those, watching them do this, I could have done it.
Yeah.
And I just didn't have that confidence in myself, and I should have just tried it to see what would happen. I should have tried digging a straight hole in the ground.
Yeah. Everything we've paid anybody to do is this driveway, digging those footers.
And the driveway is great, but there's a few things we wish we would have
He did an awesome job.
Yeah.
But there was things we didn't want the way it is. And he did what's customary, but we're not customary people. So it is what it is. And it's a good drive. Now, he did an excellent job.
It has held up extremely well.
Yeah.
We're looking down because the driveway's right here.
Yes, it is. I was looking at the corner. I'm probably like, what are they looking at?
We hope you guys enjoyed this video. We are this close to building. My fingers are closer together now. We're this close to building houses because next up is getting rebar in the footings. So we got to set grade stakes. That'll be next time. And grade stakes are going to give us an elevation for our concrete to pour up to.
And I'll give you a little thing to think about. We're going to get attacked because we use
rebar for our grade stakes.
Yeah. And guess what? Everybody around here uses rebar for their grade stakes. The biggest companies. The
Perkins Brothers builders use grade stakes made of rebar for getting their footing depth. They're a huge building company, a phenomenal YouTube channel, and they do the same thing that we've done.
Yeah.
So you know, people say it's going to rust out inside your footing. It's going to take a long time for that rebar to rust out.
And I haven't read the studies, but supposedly a major college did a study because it was such a controversy amongst all these concrete and rebar and whatnot companies, and they said 413 years it would rust out.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about that.
Not a big deal.
No.
Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give us a big thumbs up for a like. Hit that subscribe button below and check back soon. We'll be getting some rebar in the footings. Have a good one, guys.
See you next time.
All right.
Hey, one more thing.
Yeah.
Come back. You might have this or not.
Ready.
And one afterthought here. Our property has 20 different pins because it's a very jagged 300-year-old piece of property.
Actually, about 40 pins.
Was there? Okay.
There's 20 on that lot.
There's a whole lot of pins out here. Well, guess what? Multiple of these pins are 1/4 and 1/2 inch rebar. We know over 50 years old.
Yeah.
Some of them, one of them's an old axle out of an old car that's been there for
God knows how long.
Yeah, it might be 100 years. Well, yeah, it could be. It was old axle.
Old axle.
And it says it on, that's what's really funny on the survey thing, old axle.
Yeah, it literally says old axle is your corner pin.
Yeah, but these 1/4 inch rods, they're still standing.
Yeah.
They haven't rusted out yet, and they're exposed to the elements every day.
Yep.
So under that footer, 24 inches of concrete down there, not a problem.
Rock solid.
Yeah.
Have a good one, guys.
See you next time.